week 11 last week. We actually made this video on Tuesday night of this week, but I actually forgot to hit record. I could have sworn I hit record. My bad. So it's just me and Daniel tonight, but I'll be summarizing what Adam and Connor did as well. Um, okay, so I'll begin with Adam. Okay, so Adam got an attack button done for the UI. Um, he got he started to work on a health bar for the UI. And he said he made significant progress on that, and then he planned to work on this week on like some special effects uh, for when damage is dealt, um, pretty much when the health bar goes down, or when someone attacks. So just special effects. Um, Besides that, so that's what he was planning on working on this week. So, and that's what he did last week. Um, okay, and now for Connor. Connor, he um was so he plans on working on the client connection code to connect to the server. Um, and he's gonna put that on main activity. Man, I wish I would have hit record because he was really excited to also work on TailScale. You could hear it. So he's super excited to work on TailScale this week. So we'll just give you a status update on that tomorrow. Um, but yeah, and then he continued to work on kinks um due to his laptop. Um, but besides that, there was also some network code he was working on. Um, can't completely remember what it was, but I think it. Oh yeah, so it was he was working on some of it. So he's working on the transport code because yeah, and so he was working on the transport code last week, and then there was some bugs with his laptop due to memory. Um, yeah. Anyways, so that's Connor, and then he plans on working the client code this week. Do an update on that tomorrow. I um took over Adam's part for the AR. I worked last week on the um getting the camera feed up and running. So previously, so the camera feed. So my first one, with first half of last week was writing the main activity code. Okay, so because previously we weren't even um calling AR activity. Because yeah, 2 weeks ago the AR activity code completed. Then last week, um, it hadn't been launched yet because everything goes through main activity first. Um, and so main activity wasn't doing anything. It was always doing prior to last week was saying hello world. So last week, the first half of the week, I wrote the main activity code to actually launch our activity. Um, and then yes, and there's some basic UI stuff in here too. But you know, like a button. Uh, and anyway, so this is the function for the main screen, which is called on create. Um, all right, and there's a button on there that the most important part of this code is that it asks for camera permission from the user to launch the AR activity, because otherwise we can't have an AR activity if the user doesn't give permission. So that's the most important thing here. And there's a button, and the button's right down here, right? So there's grant the camera permission or enter AR arena. So if it doesn't have camera permission yet, it's going to show this button. If it does have camera permission, it's going to show enter AR arena. You click enter AR arena, then the AR activity will start. So yeah, so that one on result, and then we go to here, and then we start the activity, right? And then go into AR activity, bam. Okay, so that was the first half of the week of last week. Second half of the week was then debugging the issues that came with the camera feed. So Thursday, I was like, yeah, this is probably just it's probably just a laptop with the camera because by because we were using the emulator, I was using the emulator to run the app which is right here. Um, and look at this one. And so I had to like so my first thing I did was make sure to point the camera to I was doing webcam and I had these both to webcam. Well, not initially. I mean, initially they were just two, none, and I think emulated. And obviously that wasn't going to work. There's no, right? And so then I went in and I was like, all right, well, it should set them both to webcam. And yeah, and I mean, like from first research, that was the correct, that was what was pointing me to do that. But that was actually after looking at the documentation online, and obviously because it wasn't working, it would actually just it would crash. Um, anyways, but then so after looking at the documentation on Google for AR, I found out that I should be using virtual scene, and then I could use this as webcam, which I did, but then it was still having problems. So um, research concluded that if I set this to none, then virtual scene uh, could actually work. There's a chance that it will work. So because sometimes it gets caught up.
It's up here.
Anyways, that didn't work. Then um, there was another bug with actually this was actually the most annoying. Sorry. So a lot of people at my house, but anyways, so what was I saying? There was a problem too because I was getting an error in the logs saying that ARCore, the service to actually run AR on Google phones, was not installed on this API, and so I actually ended up fixing that too. But that would took me a couple days, so I ended up fixing that. Um, but I think that one even bled into this week. That one for the AirCore. Yeah, it did. Yeah, that one bled into this week. But that's what was the cliffhanger for last week. So that's what I did last week, and then I ended up fixing it this week. But anyways, so and then this week I planned um and we'll give you an update on that tomorrow about working through the bug kind of know I fixed that already, but anyways, that was what I was planning on working on, getting the camera feed working. So I'll give you more updates on this week's work this week, and which will be tomorrow. Uh, and all right, so I'll take it away to Daniel.
All right. So one of the things I did this week was trying to get the app running on my computer. Somebody else's computer was having a few issues running that. They thought their computer might be a bit too slow, and I thought my computer might be a bit better. So we tried running that in our meeting that week, and that took a pretty long time to work out quite a few things to end up building the app and running it and figuring out how to do that in the first place and then getting it up. And we were able to successfully start the app. We ran into a few issues from there, but we were able to get it running. So that was a good success. And then the thing that I spent most of my time on was trying to work out the poison debuff, the poison effect that I had planned. It proved to be a bit more difficult than I had realized. I had worked on it a little bit in previous weeks, but not enough to really realize the scope of it. My other effects that I had programmed, like lifesteal or intimidate, were pretty simple. Just change an integer around, either reduce their attack or increase your health by the same amount you damage the enemy, something like that. But poison, to do that, I have to design something new to be able to apply the effect on future turns and decrement the counter. And so that is taking me some time for sure, but I'm still making progress on that. And I'm I feel optimistic about it. And that's my week.
Thank you, Daniel. Last week. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, brother.